Jeff's not there.
Good morning, Comrade. You listen to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning, Comrade. Jeff and Robert here on the show. What's going on, Robert? It is the day after Christmas. How you feeling?
Pretty tired. I had a Louisiana. How do I sound? Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound fabulous.
All right. I had a Louisiana Christmas where we went to. I went to those bonfires out in the river parishes. That's crazy. Like, that's Mad Max. I don't understand it.
The river parishes?
No, just like the whole bonfire. Like, oh, we got to light the way for Santa Claus, for Papa Noel, but they're like, oh, so we're gonna do that. Like, for the people who've never seen it, people who don't live in Louisiana, it's as close as you could possibly get to a Lord of the Rings set where you're trying to light the beacons. So it's just like every 50 feet, there's this huge like Viking funeral pyre. And
I love a bonfire.
Lights them all at once, and it's just open fire while they're shooting fireworks into the fire. And it's totally not pagan. Like, it's for Papa Noel. It's totally not. It's the same people who are out here doing this are the same people who be like, well, I don't mess with that wish stuff.
It would be a lot
burning stuff.
It would be a lot cooler if it was pagan.
I know. But that was fun. I know I sound like I'm playing about it, but it's fun. I like doing it. It's crazy. It's one of those things. It's like, we can behave when we want to. I know I just made it sound like it was crazy, but that goes into my whole thing of, I went to New York after Luigi shot dude, allegedly. And it was my first time in New York City. And I said this a couple weeks ago. It's like crazy. Like, I was like, this is no reason to be like this, because I understand there's so many people. I understand there's so much traffic, but other cities in the world that have just as many tourists and just as much traffic don't behave like this. And the bonfires to me are showing like we're in South Louisiana, where people should have like no manners, no, like it's libertarian headquarters, right? But somehow we can all like openly burn huge bonfires 200 yards from people's houses, and everybody like behaves themselves and follows like general safety laws. So it's like the way it just goes into my philosophy of the way we choose to live in America is an absolute choice, and it's maddening. We can do the right thing. I don't care where you're at on the political spectrum. You can do the right thing when it affects you. It's funny how we do that as a species.
But I guess like part of it is that we are in the heart of empire, and there's just more excess available in America than there is other places, perhaps. I don't know. Like,
I don't know. It's very like, I feel like America is one big, we talk about it with class consciousness and these other like leftist practice ideas, but it's just one big like prisoner's dilemma.
Yeah.
And we're all just being suckered by the jailer to be like, ooh, you better rat out your fellow inmate or he's going to rat you out. And that's how I just feel like America as a whole is just cutthroat and gross.
Well, the whole point of America initially from 1492 to now was that is like, we're going out there to where there's nothing, where nobody else lives, supposedly. Obviously, that's not true, but like, we're going to this new place. We're going to conquer this whole thing, and we're going to get what's ours. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. It's in the words. It's in the title, Manifest Destiny.
Yeah, and it's sort of like lasted through the entire history of America through this very day. Mm-hmm. And so the whole point of America, at least from its foundation, from the outset, was let's grind set, let's go, let's get this bread.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just as you can tell, it's just not sustainable. Like, individualism is not sustainable, and I don't know. It just goes into the stuff we always talk about, where people think, Communism is when you don't own your own toothbrush. Like you have to somehow rent it from the workers' co-op or something. Like, no, communism is when we all have, we all take advantage of. We're all owners in the franchise, and we all, have access to the means of production. And
and everybody has their needs met.
Yeah, everyone to their ability, everyone to their need. But it's like I just couldn't shake the feeling. Like, man, I can't get over it. Just going through New York City, I'm just like, this is a choice, man. Like, this is. I felt like some kind of biblical character. I've never felt like that, to where I'm like, this place got smited. Whatever. Because I just felt like some kind of guy in the Bible was just like, this is not, like, I felt like I was Lot in Sodom. I was like, this is not sustainable. Like, this is just asking for. I'm like, how does anybody function here? I don't understand it. And I know, again, where I saw was not the boroughs. Like, the boroughs, from everything I like see and read, are just like these lovely communities where people know each other and stuff like that. But just the actual tourist area, like, and you'd be like, well, that's how it is because all the tourists. I'm like, nah, people don't act like that in other places in the world. They have more respect for the common man. The amount of like kindness I showed to people on the street, just letting them pass or like making sure they had space on the subway or whatever. And the way they looked at me, I had one little old lady like genuinely look me in the eye and just go, thank you. It's like she hasn't had a kind word. It felt like she had had a kind word said to her in forever. And it's just like, what is this world, man? It's so absolutely depressing. And I can't stop thinking about New York because, of course, we've got, goodness gracious. I had to go pick up my crazy meds today and do the call. United Healthcare CEO got popped. And then days that, we've got this thing, they're going to perp walk, the alleged shooter out there. And, they've got like helicopters and snipers on roofs and 50 guys and like with MP4s and all like righted up. Like, is this man an X-Man? Like, is that why we're doing this? It's crazy. And like 2 days after, or maybe it was the day after the perp walk, that everybody, saw, a homeless woman got burned to death by a illegal immigrant. I'm going to use the word illegal immigrant. I don't want to get in trouble with my lefty friends. It's like, yeah, no human is illegal. We all know that. But let's just, for sake of argument, an illegal to move this thing along. An illegal immigrant woman sleeping on the subway because it's freezing outside and she wanted to freeze to death. This guy walks up on the subway, walks up to her while she's sleeping, passed out on the subway, smooth as you like, takes out a lighter and whatever he used for accelerant and burned this woman to death. She died the most horrendous death possible while people watched and they filmed it. And I'm just my first thought is, where's Mayor Adams? Where is he? Where is the NYPD came and got the guy off the subway? I don't understand why they didn't call in SEAL Team 6 to come get this guy. Because if they got so much energy for Luigi, obviously this man is way more dangerous. Obviously, we're talking about X-Men. This man is Pyro. So why aren't you bringing SEAL Team 6 to come get him? And you know why? You know why there's no Eric Adams. You know why there's no SWAT team mobilized to come get this guy. And it's because he murdered in the most horrible way you could the most medieval, disgusting way you could ever think of. He murdered this woman and she was poor. She was a bag lady. So she has no worth in our society. And that's just a society I refuse to live in. Like there are things to fight for. Every time I see a happy dog, I know it sounds stupid, but it's the things I have to talk about I have to keep in my head to keep going on. Every time I see a happy dog, every time I see a baby smile, I'm like, yes, there are good things worth fighting for here. But if you can't see that this is terminal, man, like this is not in our lifetime. We're already old, but overall, this is terminal and we're not going to recover from it. Like our society is sick and it's right. The apple's rotten right to the core. It's what it is. I mean, I'm just completely frustrated, completely sick of it, and all I can do is just try to prepare to leave. Try to do more mutual aid, and I'm playing Path of Exile 2 right now to take my mind. I'd rather escape into a dark fantasy world than live in the dark dystopian cyberpunk that we have right now. It's one of the reasons why, boo-hoo poor me, but like I uninstalled Cyberpunk 2077. Everybody says it's such a great game it is. And I'm just like, I can just go outside and live that. Yeah. What is the point? Like, that's why the genre is dead, because we're in a tech dystopia right now.
Yeah.
And it's sad. And I know, again, I don't want to discourage. I just want people to understand how real it is. This is not normal. This is a sick society. I feel like the guy on the soapbox right now. And I'm like, I want you to not feel defeated. What I don't want you to do, what I want you to do is not be apathetic. I want to be like the Mad Prophet from Network. Like, this is not normal. The things that are put on us, private healthcare, a bunch of bean counters, and AI algorithms that get between you and your doctor, murdering the poorest, most disenfranchised people from this enterprise, that you could possibly imagine, just trying to stay warm. This is not normal. And the guy was an illegal immigrant. So the first thought is, you got to get all the illegal immigrants out. My thought is, where are the? Am I clipping a little bit? Oh, I am. Damn. You pull back on the volume. See, I don't know why.
You got worked up.
Cool. I had to pull back on the volume. It's the settings get weird sometimes, but come back down. But the thing is, like, yeah, the lady had nothing, and we're supposed to not care about that. But Brian Thompson was a serial killer who killed people slow with a pin and a suit on. And I'm supposed to I'm supposed to go to where he was murdered and like, do 7 circles around it like it's the Kabbalah. Like,
somebody on television said that. Yeah, somebody on television said like, oh yeah, this is the spot. Like, I passed by the spot where the CEO guy, Brian whatever, was shot, and like there's no memorial or anything like that.
Yeah, I saw that. I passed by it too. I stomped on it. That's all I could do, because I was with my mother-in-law, and I didn't want to like embarrass her and like
a big deal.
Start hitting the gritty on it in front of the Hilton. But it's like I just stomped on it. I was like in my keffia, like, forget this. I'm not crying for this, but I know this is. I don't want this to get out of the news cycle, because I think this is like the most. And again,
it's not going nowhere.
I keep talking about this homeless lady, and I wish I knew her name so we could at least say her name. She was somebody. This one, as much as we get told, Brian Thompson was a family man. He had kids. This woman had nothing except her pride. That's all she had. Mm-hmm. This woman had people who cared about her, had people who loved her. She was somebody's daughter. Mm-hmm. And this is how our society did her. Mm-hmm. And again, with the illegal immigrant thing, that's why I wanted to, before I was clipping, everybody's going, the first thing they say is, we got to get the legal immigrants out. My thing is, what about our capitalist systems, our job market, these industries that lure people across the border to go work for slave wages and then want to keep them in that status, so they become
that's the whole point, right?
Worse than indentured servants. Yeah,
that's the whole point. The whole point is so that capital can very easily flow across borders, but people can't. And so essentially, like, if your workers specifically can't, so when they do inevitably have to chase money, because that's how, people survive, then you have all these BS rules that keep these migrant workers that come from, in our case, Central and South America, to do the hardest work. And it's not just this work. There's a lot of others as well. But like specifically, like I'm thinking in my mind about like farm workers and things like that. Absolutely. They come and do stuff that no American or very few Americans are going to do.
102.3 WHIV FM radio in all words. Go ahead.
They're going to do jobs that a lot of Americans can't do or won't do. They're going to get paid a lot less than Americans legally can get paid. And they're going to be in a more precarious legal status and social status than anybody else. So It's just like this whole situation, like that is the desired outcome of these kinds of policies, right? The whole point of it is to make sure that that workers are in a precarious position, and that there are different classes of workers, so that essentially makes it so that you have the class of workers in America who are, who do have legal status, and they quote unquote did it the quote unquote right way. Now, obviously, you and I both know that's BS, but like, people will think that like can always look down on another group of workers and be like, well, look at them.
Yeah,
why are they breaking the rules? Why? And it's not like the point of that is to create those two classes of workers and divide them from one another, because when they're looking and pointing at one another, guess what? Guess who they're not looking at? Guess who they're not pointing at?
Exactly.
They're not looking at the boss. They're not looking at the capitalist. They're not looking at the big, monopoly man with the barrels of money who, owns Twitter and can just give the president of the United States billions of dollars to essentially just shut down the entire government or whatever, do all this other stuff.
That's funny you mentioned Twitter, because what's going on, like the hotness, and I'm not on X, or sure. I'm not on Nazi Central anymore. I know you're still holding it down over there. God bless you. But Vivek Ramaswamy and also Elon Musk are catching all kinds of heat from the people who Cybertruck owners and people who worship them, because they're like, hey, we need to get these what is it, the H1C? No, whatever, the visas that are like just pretty much
work visas.
No, what was it? Yeah, they're work plus visas, I would call them. What's the thing? They're indentured servitude.
Yeah,
because you come over here because of your skills. They love that. They love that immigration. They absolutely love it, because you're a high skilled worker. You come to America, they can underpay you, they can exploit, they can steal more of your labor value than they can from an American citizen, because the threat is if they fire you at any time, you just get immediately deported. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. The end. So that is slavery with extra steps, to quote a Rick and Morty episode. I never thought
a couple of asterisks. It's like, oh, that's slavery asterisk.
Yeah, it's a really cute system that we figured out. Like, because 1776, plus one, we said, oh, we got to do this slave labor thing. And then we finally said, oh, that's a bad look. We fought a war over it. Let's not do the slavery. Well, we kind of have to, because capitalism has to maximize profit. So even the cotton gin takes somebody to fix. A slave just breaks. I can go get another slave from the slave market. So if we can't do slavery, how can we do this? And they figured it out. It's a cute little system to where we'll hollow out your country, and who's ever not. And then when your country's ruined because of America's actions or even inactions, then you'll have no place to come but here and get exploited all over again. It's a great system. And who's ever not white at the time, that's who everybody gets a turn. Black people, Irish people, Italians, Chinese. Brown people, you're just the Johnny come latelys. People from, Southern hemisphere, you're just the new N-word on the block. And maybe it'll be somebody else. Maybe it'll be, I guess in this whole new tech dystopia that people like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg have built, high skilled brown labor from Asia, India, they're the new N-words, to where now Brian Thompson committed murder with extra steps. These titans of industry they're just doing slavery with extra steps. Yeah. And we, until we figure that out and tell these people no, until we stop going after the guys outside of Home Depot and start going after the guys who are hiring them to work on their corporate job, this is never going to end. And so it's probably just never going to end, to be honest, without some kind of, not legislatively, because the guy outside of Home Depot drinking a Monster at 8 a.m. hoping to get a job. He can't vote. He ain't got no lobbyist. There's no migrant worker lobby that's funneling cash to the Democratic Party. And until that happens, which is never going to happen, that's facetious. it's money talks and BS walks. And I mean, obviously we live in an oligarchy. These people don't care about anything we do unless if we mess with their safety or mess with their money. And I know that's dangerous to say, but you gotta, I mean, tell me where the lie is. And I know I don't want to discount people like you who are doing, you are out there, you're doing amazing work. You're organizing, you're getting workers together and to understand their rights. That's all true. But that's all great. But when it runs, the rubber meets the road and they have to pick between, and they do it every single day, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. When they're like, the workers or this little Judas pittance, you'd be surprised at how easy, how little it takes to buy off a politician. This little Judas pittance that they get from whatever dumb lobby group. That's who their actual constituents are. And it's maddening. And I believe it's terminal. I really do.
Yeah. And there was a report, actually, I mean, again, Sean O'Brien, the president of the Teamsters, has been a very controversial figure in labor and within politics recently. But he is the president of the Teamsters, and like that matters. He went on, of all people, and this is obviously, take this for what it's worth to a certain extent, but he went on Tucker Carlson's program recently, and he actually said that he had conversations with the Harris campaign because, I mean, again, and this is not the path that I would have taken. This is not how I would have gone with it or some stuff like that. But he essentially decided that we're not going to endorse the Democrats, which is fine. And the Kamala Harris essentially said at a event, or one of her people said at an event, is like, you Teamsters better get in line because we're going to win this election with you, or we're going to win it without you. And you're going to want to be on our side when it happens. And that's the way that, again, the Democrats look at, and look, I don't even agree with them all the time, but this is the president of the Teamsters. You cannot be doing that. But the thing is that it shows what the Democratic Party thinks of the representatives of workers, essentially, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing that's like, look, with a guy like O'Brien, he's going to go and talk about it with Tucker Carlson because he's got some politics that I don't agree with. But what you're doing is you're giving somebody like that the opportunity. You're giving somebody like Tucker Carlson an opportunity. The guy who is a Swanson frozen foods heir, billionaire child, like the modern, like William F. Buckley, essentially. You're giving him an opportunity to be like, I represent workers more than the Democrats do, which is insane. You're giving one of the richest, most pampered elites in this country an opportunity to be like, well, the Democrats don't represent workers. I talked to the president of the Teamsters. I gave him a platform, whatever. It's like, what are you doing, bro? Like, that's crazy, right?
I agree with you. The only thing I push back on you is about like Sean O'Brien's like his politics.
Like I'm talking about differences in tactics here. Okay?
I'm just saying, I'm not a. Well, you kind of understand what I'm about to say. Yeah. Like I'm not a Teamster, but like I don't. If anybody should be a mercenary in this equation, it should be him. And so if the Democrats don't want to parlay with him, I have no problem with him going, because he should only have one objective. He has one mission statement, and that's to do what's right by dues paying Teamsters. So I don't really care.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm not necessarily convinced that that's what he's doing necessarily, but I do think that when he tells these stories, and like obviously I like whether or not like we could put all that other stuff aside. Like, but if he's telling this story, and if he's telling the truth, I tend to believe that he is. Mm-hmm. If he's telling this story that the Democrats said get on board or else, I believe that.
Completely believe it. How many times has that been told? Yeah. How many politicians? How many activists? How many people that just wanted what's best for Americans have been told that by the Democratic Party. Democratic Party, again, how does the old joke, the maxim go? The Democratic Party despises its base and the Republicans fear theirs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just.
And I don't know, bro. I will say that I don't know, man. Like the idea that, again, that you can just go to the president of the Teamsters and be like, you have to get on with us. Like that is how the Democrats talk to their voters. That is how they talk to everybody except for their biggest donors, essentially. They basically say they're basically like, you owe it to us to vote for us and not the other way around. That is, like, again, very indicative of why people hate the freaking Democrats, right? Because, I mean, again, the Republicans are demons and monsters or whatever, but if the Democrats are going to be coming around and be like, if you don't vote for us, you're a fascist or whatever, you support the fascism of the other side, then and we're going to give you nothing. Like, how easy is it to just be like, F you to them? You know what I mean? How easy is that?
No, it's incredibly easy. I know you play a lot of fighting games, and like how I equate like the Democratic Party's action is it's just like a guy playing like another guy in a fighting game, and the Democrats are on one side and they're playing and they're against us, the electorate. And what they're doing is they're just spamming one attack over and over again. The attack of, well, the other guys are bad or worse. And it's worked. It's worked for so long until they run into the one guy who's like, I have a counter for that. Like, that's, I don't care. I know the frame data on that. And that's what's happened. They keep running the same play over and over and over again. And it's been so successful. And they thought they could get it through one more time. And they could not. And just, I want to be a little bit fair. I'm going to be fair, and then I'm going to take it right away from mainstream media, MSN, all that. Is that I looked up really quick. It's just like, why do we not know this woman's name who's burnt to death on the subway? And it's because they're saying that the reason why they haven't said her name is because she was burned beyond recognition, and she had nothing identifying, dude. So that's how terrible this was. But again, that plays in again. So we got one guy who got shot in the back.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to, and he didn't die scared, afraid. He didn't die in a terrible position in life. You know, he just
leaving any debt for his family.
Yeah, he just went. And again, I'm supposed to have some type of feeling about that as I go get scammed to go pick up my meds from Walgreens today and whip out a United Health card. But this woman who's had nothing but snake bit all her life, and her life ended on a subway bench, burned to death to where she's not even recognizable. And how like the city of New York, they do all this other stuff. How they're not like, look, we're not gonna, for 1 hour. I know it's New York, but for 1 hour, we're not gonna run the subway. Because this is crazy. We all need a breath. We all need to look at each other and be like, what are we doing? Like the whole culture of this country needs to change. I mean, if I was Mayor Adams, that's what I was. If I was the mayor of New York, I would say the whole country of this, the whole ethos, the whole way we move as a nation needs to change, and it's got to start here in New York. So we're gonna set up like. The NYPD is going to be used to enforce pedestrian traffic laws. This is going to be more orderly. I'm tired of walking in the street and it's just looking like, I don't know if it's a zombie apocalypse or it's a normal Tuesday night or if a show just got let out. I don't know. This is crazy. We can't live like this. That's what I would say. But again, they don't care about that. They care because one of their own got killed. That's it. Yep. And not as scared. And anybody, again, I say this, I talk big noise because it's too late for me. I said, stuff I could care less. The reason that I even know Brian Thompson's name makes me want to puke. Because why a serial killer should not be taking up that kind of space in my brain. And if any one of these alphabet boys from any of these agencies, I heard they're doing knock and talks. And they're trying to call people who've been talking spy. Come see me, and I'll say the same thing to you. Because if you want to come gaffle me up, if you want to come be like, oh, well, you're inciting violence. Well, this is a society I don't want to live in. Then take me away to wherever. I don't care. Deport me to Gaza, like Trump said.
He's threatening.
Please, I would love that. We pack a bag. You gonna give me a ticket into Israel, and the Israel is gonna give me free passes into Gaza. I'll take that right now. I am absolutely not kidding.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just we need a complete sea change of just how we treat each other in this country. And like I've gotten caught, and I'm not talking about the Luigi thing. I'm not talking about Brian Thompson. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just on a personal level, I personally have just gotten colder and more irritated. And I'm just so happy that I have like family that reach out to me and be like, hey, are you doing okay? You want to talk about it? And I'm like, yeah, I do want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And like the idea that we are so far gone that like my mother, who's just like an evangelist, like she's evangelical Christian. I was talking to her about this stuff and we were like, you know, da 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 da. And she surprised. I said, this is not how I thought the conversation was going to go, because she said, 102.3 FM,
WHIV
Wars. Yeah. So I didn't think this is how it's going to go. She said, you know, I'm worried about you individually. I don't want anything to happen to you, but what you've been saying to me and the way that you're feeling, there's nothing wrong with it. She goes, I completely understand it. My father-in-law is I'd love to have a talk with him right now. I haven't talked to him since I was at a wedding with him a couple weeks ago. I need to talk to him again, like to sit
down, a guest on the show.
Seriously, could be. That's not a bad idea, to be honest. That's not a bad idea.
He was a guest on the show one time.
He was a medical executive he worked for like Aetna or Synthase or something. I can't remember. But he worked for them. Got a charge pinned on him that they were selling stuff off label. He had nothing to do with it, but he took the fall. He ended up going to prison. Now he's a yogi. This man teaches yoga for a living. That's what he does. And he just goes, well, you know, I don't like violence, but he just was like, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
he knows the score more than anybody else. He knows they'd be cutting people off.
The normies are like, I get y'all. I understand where y'all are coming from. And I'm just really, that's the thing I'm hopeful for. And that's why I don't want, I guess this is, you know, I don't want to forget about Gaza. I want to talk about Gaza. I want to talk about labor, but I just don't want this to go away. I feel like this is such a pivotal point in our society where this could really be the last off ramp like actually making change that's going to be beneficial to us and really be able to just like kick capitalism down the road. And I want it destroyed. I want capitalism destroyed, but I'm not going to look at
where you can get it.
Yeah, if we went to democratic socialism and we tweaked it to where we're actually beneficially helping people, I'm again, what we always say, I'll take half the sandwich. I'll tell you I want full, but I'll take half if it's going to help people. I'm not crazy.
Yeah, you're not unreasonable.
We're all like that.
And again, another thing, and again, I mentioned this before on the show, but like the way that the normies have talked about it is something I mentioned earlier, how the boss creates these categories that is designed to divide working people. Well, this is one of the things, the action, not necessarily the actions of Luigi, but the complete and utter disgust that everybody just decided to express about health insurance and about like CEOs and all this other stuff. That is one of the things that I've seen that brought America like together, that working people together more than I've ever seen probably since Bernie campaign.
No, you know it's 100%. It's 100% true what you're saying. And then when I take a look at like, you know, grifters and pieces of garbage like Cenk Uygur, who's hanging out at like, I don't know, Kilbride Fest or whatever, America Fest or, you know,
we could all have beers with fascists.
Bar the bathrooms because, you know, a trans person might be in their fest. I don't know. But you see Cenk Uygur hanging out with him. And like, in part, like we do this podcast, we do this show because we were inspired by like the work that he was doing. And he talks about, you know, there's issues that we can talk about that we can break bread with and we can find common ground. What about the murder of private healthcare CEOs, bro? He don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because that's going after a rich person. He don't want to talk because I mean, if I was really trying to the right wingers in my life that I feel like I've made ground with have all been about, Brian Thompson's murder. But it's just very curious that the guy that's all about like, oh, I want to capitulate to the right wing, and why would you not want to find common ground on the thing that they're screaming in agreement with us for?
Well, and like again, it's like you can make common ground with your uncle who says racist stuff or whatever, but like you can obviously have a beer with him. But what you can't do, because you're not freaking stupid, is you can't get somebody who's a paid propagandist for right-wing media and be like, let's have a nice discussion and have a beer afterwards, after you spew all your hatred and your bile and all your BS. Like, if you are that stupid to like, you're literally doing what Dave Rubin did.
Well, here's the thing. So this is the thing about, and I haven't really heard too many people say that. I think one or two people, but okay. So Cenk, it's not going to work out for Cenk or anybody in the Young Turks, because what's going to happen is they're already made the move to the right. The right's going to toy with them for a little bit, get the clicks out of them, milk them for content, and then they're just going to leave them right in the middle of the road. So there's going to be nowhere for them to. They're not going to have a home on the right. They're not going to have a home on the left. There's no such thing as the middle, as centrism anymore. Centrism has always been right wing anyway. It's always been just a cover for right wing.
Centrism is, I mean, that's the Weimar stuff, right? That's the Weimar stuff. The centrism. That's the like, oh, we need to make a peace with the most like the most evil parts of our society. We need a bridge between them and the sort of like actual like working people in our society. And in order for that bridge to be built, let's just say the working class, the left, needs to give every single thing to the right, and that's how you make that bridge. And that's just not going to ever happen. I'm sorry.
I'm not parlaying with people who don't respect my human rights, dude. I'm not doing that. That's just like, there's had to, what did we say last week?
Deport all immigrants. I'm sorry, deport all immigrants on one side, deport zero immigrants on the other side. And the centrists want to come in and be like, what if we just deport half of the immigrants? What if we only deported, 10 million immigrants instead of 20 million immigrants? That could make everybody happy.
I mean, we just have to have, what I say on the show, we have to have open arms for anyone, but we have to have hard lines. Like, there have to be things that like, and we shouldn't hide the football. We shouldn't hide these lines. Like, you cross these lines, you can't sit with us. And the lines are human rights. So where like, I don't understand if because it's cool now, and Cenk always talks about, polling and like, this doesn't poll well. It's like, bro, civil rights never polled well.
Don't you have values? Don't you stand for something? If you're like looking just at polling, and if that's the only thing that matters to you, and by the way, some of these things do poll well, and like that's BS already. But like, even if you believe that like black people should not be segregated from white people in our society or something like that, if you believe that it's not polling so well, then do you just give up? Or do you actually work to actually change that polling? Like, come on, bro. Like, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous.
It's like if a big part of the right wing plank, and this is, now that I've run this
101,
I was gonna say, if a big part of the right wing plank was pedophilia, we would like you couldn't be out there saying, you know what, you guys might be pedophiles, but you make a lot of good points. It would be over right there. I put racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, religious bigotry. That's
right lines.
That's right there. That's all this. That's all in the same bucket. So you start spouting that, we can have a conversation. We can have but the conversation is going to stay on this, and it cannot move anywhere else until you either come on over and stop your behavior, which is not conducive to society, or we don't shake hands and we part ways. There's things I cannot compromise on.
Yeah.
Like, you die on every hill. Yeah, I'm going to die on the civil rights bill, bruh. Like, yeah, that's the hill I'm going to die on, because if I don't have it, I'm literally going to die. What do you, it's crazy capitulating with these people.
And again, this is the liberal thing, and this is the thing that they think, like, the civil rights issue, that's how they view these things. But like the civil rights act of 1964 or whatever, 68, voting rights act was 64, but like that was solved because people had cool heads
Oh
and they
oh
sat in a room,
oh my God.
removed from everything. They had a battle of ideas, and somebody just decided that, like, oh, we all agree to like give black folks the right to vote, or we all agree to desegregate, parts of our society. That never happened.
Brother.
That never happened. Are you insane?
That is the main crux. And it's because
There was a fight. It was because there were protests in the
Right.
street. Because there was disruptions in the society, and the people in Congress were like, "Wow, if we don't do something about this to turn the temperature down, they're gonna kill us."
That's the crux of so many. I deal with so many bad arguments like that, to where people have really been brainwashed and they don't know anything about history, and they think that Martin Luther King gave a really good speech, and
it was over.
It was like Star Trek.
Like, oh.
Or like Fallout, and then all the racists just like saw the error of their ways and just jumped off a bridge.
They saw the West Wing, the President Bartlett or whatever comes up, he gives a speech and like chastises his opponents in the Republican Party or whatever, and they were like, "Well, wow, you got us. It's over. You win. GG's."
It's because if they didn't capitulate to Martin, Malcolm was in the wings.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to rock. That was the issue. And the same thing where it's like, there's no such thing as nonviolent resistance. All you can do is try to you can try to sway, you can try to move where the violence goes. And so Martin Luther King's thing was, we're going to put the violence on us and then hopefully appeal to people's humanity, which honestly, it didn't work. Like it worked for the kids, the SNCC kids, good, ally white kids who were like, you know what, this is messed up. The same kind of feelings I'm having right now. If I die on a bus trying to get people to I don't want to live in a society where I have to fear that I'm going to get blown up on a bus trying to register people to vote. And if I get blown up on the bus, then that's fine, because I don't want to live in the society where these things happen anyway. Yeah. And that's so that in that way it worked. But at the end of the day, it was messing with their money. Mm-hmm. It was and these are things that Martin did as well, but it wasn't just walking across even a march. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as nonviolent resistance, even a march. So when he marched everybody across that bridge, and face off with Bull Connor, as nonviolent as he was, is not as much as I got to be like Gandhi. And we can talk about Gandhi too in a sec. Anytime you're in a protest march, what that is you are explicitly telling the state, this is how many people I can mobilize right now.
Yep.
And all we're doing is marching. You keep playing with us, next time we won't be marching.
It's a strategy.
That's what it's communicating. It's not nonviolence. It is a threat. It is an implicit threat.
Yeah.
Until people start understanding that, they're living in a cartoon world and they're going to give away all their power. And again, same thing with Gandhi. Like, we were like, well, Gandhi was nonviolent resistance and the British. No, the British were getting blown up by Hindu radicals. They were planting bombs and they were killing British soldiers. So Churchill was like, well, I got to deal. It's like, I got to do something. He's like, well, we can deal with this weird dude who's on a hunger strike. Yeah. Who's also a sex pest. And he says he's nonviolent, or we got to try to beat an insurgent, a armed insurgency. So it's like,
and again, this is dealing with Churchill, one of the most blood-soaked genocide backers in the entirety of British history, which is a pretty high bar, if you know what I mean.
I would love if I could go back in time like Bill and Ted style and just take two people and lock them in a room for 24 hours. And I would take Gandhi and I would take Churchill, because it would be like they're both massive racists. And just make them talk to each other. Like Churchill, Gandhi hated everybody who wasn't Indian. He was on that Indian supremacy. And then Churchill hated every Indian. And it was just and he hated everybody who wasn't British. I would just love to see them interact.
Yeah. Let them fight. Let's see who wins.
It would be that's my Bill and Ted dream. That and the pixie cut Joan of Arc lady. Oh my God, she's so hot. Oh my God.
You're just thinking of Mila Jovovich. I think,
brother, no. When I was a little boy, before puberty, she did a thing for me. That was an awakening of like the type of woman that like I was into.
The Mila
Like,
Jovovich movie, right?
No, because she's too much.
She's too
Like
much.
I want. Yeah. She's too.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. It was The Messenger. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I saw it in high school. It was
fun
all right.
movie, by the way.
But I mean, like, okay, so I want like my ideal like a woman is like a lean beef patty, like somebody who's like physically, like physically, and doesn't even have to be physically, but it's strength. If you're like emotionally and like if you're emotionally strong, you have a strong will, like you have purpose, you have you're ambitious, or you're physically strong because that's a type of ambition too. But then like physically cute. That does it for me. Like all that.
Combination.
And that's the woman from Joan of Arc and Bill and Ted's.
Oh,
she's great. She said like I don't think she says anything in that whole movie. I mean, all she could do is just speak French. Like, I think that's the thing, that she didn't know English. So
historically, by the way, more historically accurate than The Messenger.
Yeah. Well, do you remember that? Do you remember Bill and Ted's? Because
Excellent Adventure. Yeah,
it's actually well written because the idea is like, so the stupid phone booth pops into France while she's praying, and then like Bill and Ted like step out and they're like, "Come on!" And of course she would have been like, absolutely. Like she does the sign of the cross. And she's
God.
She's like, yeah. She's like, this is what I was praying for. Let's rock. Let's do it. More religious fanaticism now. I'm building a squad. I'm building a squad of John Brown, Joan of Arc. Just every righteous religious fanaticist. Wilberforce. I'm getting Wilberforce has already got a cool name for like a comic book. That's the guy who like he did the whole, he was a lawyer and he did the whole speech, the whole, I can't, honestly, this is so bad. He's the guy, I don't want to say he's the guy who ended slavery in the UK. And it wasn't even the UK back then, it was just England, the British Empire. But like he ended slavery or did like some kind of speech where it's like, this is immoral, people have rights, blah, blah, blah. And the UK was just like, yeah, I guess so. And also this is costing us too much. And we can already see, they already did a slave revolt in France, so maybe we need to chill. We can't hold all these colonies at once, so we're gonna stop the slavery. But yeah, that's what it was. But that's my squad for right now. They're growing though. I'm trying to think of some more. Wilberforce, John Brown, Joan of Arc. If you can think of any other like righteous religious fanatics. Oh, we can get the leader, the Professor X would be who's the pastor who does Moral Mondays?
You're thinking of
he's alive right now. I'm looking him up right now. Poor People's Campaign. William Barber. Yeah. William Barber will be the William Barber will be like
he's like a libdo. He is a libdo.
That's why he's Xavier.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
See, I've got this covered, man. You gotta have.
I do remember that he. I know he rubbed some people the wrong way when it came to just sort of like how far he would go with a lot of his things. A lot of it was.
What do you expect from him? He's like,
I know.
He's like a 400-pound like guy in
Pastor
South Carolina. Like, I grade people on a curve.
Oh, shout out by the way to Ben Dixon, who's another one of those guys.
Exactly. Yeah, he is. Oh yeah, and that we'll talk off air. I feel like it's too much, but yeah, Jank was trying to lie on him. And he was just that. Like, brother, I didn't see that. Come on. That's so slimy, dog. But yeah, we need
don't trust the liberals, they'll betray you.
Nope. But yeah, you need like a William Barber who's always like I would say Bernie, but Bernie's not religious. He wouldn't be a religious zealot.
I think you need to have religious people, you need to have non-religious people, and it's got to be a mix there.
But my X-Men is just religious zealots. That's right.
There was an interesting article that was in Jacobin recently that Matt McManus actually wrote about essentially like the way that sort of like liberalism and the left kind of like together sort of eschew religion, and how there's like that's sort of a silly approach. I need to like find that article. Maybe we should reach out to Matt and have him on the show. Talk about
Matt Christman?
No, Matt McManus.
I remember Matt Christman saying that on the show.
No, Matt Christman talked. I remember on his like rants, he would talk about John Brown and things like that. I don't know if Matt Christman is doing public appearances right now, which
Well, I just mean like, yeah, I just remember him talking about that, and that's
no. He talked a lot
thought
about John Brown and about how that sort of like layer, like we ain't where we were in the pre-Civil War days, if you know what I mean, in terms of like what we're, I guess we're not at that point. We're not made of the same stuff, or a combination of both. And I think it's probably a combination of both.
I was gonna say, if you want to take a in the summer when I graduate from University of Cincinnati, I'm definitely gonna take pictures at the Slavery Museum. Like it's called the Freedom Center. I'm definitely doing that and like cap and gown.
Cool.
But you should, if you want to take a Good Morning Comrade field trip, you can come stay with my mom. Like she's got a huge house, and like just come up and we can go to the Slavery Museum, because there's a thing I want to show you. It's like there's a corner, and you know, I would love when I go up there, I'm gonna find like the curator, and I'm gonna be like, how hard did somebody have to fight for this? Because there's a corner that's just John Brown, and it just plays John Brown's body is moldy in the grave over and over again. And it's got like the writings, like the stuff about him. And there's one that always sticks out to me from Frederick Douglass. And he goes, John Brown, I consider him an ally and a brave man, but also insane. I wish him the best. he was crazy in the cat box, man.
Yeah.
God, that guy was nutter.
Man.
I would have rode with him. Like, whatever, dude.
Either.
Yeah.
No, the article is called "This Christmas: Radical Christianity and Marxism Can Inspire Us to Build a Better World." Let's just read the lead really fast. The conventional understanding of Marxism is doggedly anti-religious is wrong. In fact, some philosopher argued Christianity and Marxism have a time expired in humanity and a radical sense of hope to build a more just world. Which is like, how can you even like disagree with that point? I mean, like the idea of equality and the idea of like or you know, some kind of orthodoxy surrounding your belief in God, the spiritual side of the world, or whatever. Those two things aren't at odds at all,
not
in the least bit.
Not at all.
In fact, like you said, like what makes nothing can like inspire somebody, and I'm not a religious person, but like nothing can inspire somebody to do things that are radical more than thinking that your immortal soul depends on that, right? No, I mean, come on.
No, I was having this discussion with my mother. We were talking about religion because she's very religious, and I said, I'm not opposed to religion. What I'm opposed to, she goes, and she understood me.
No,
she goes, you're looking for structure.
Richard Dawkins over here. We're not like crazy Sam Harris, like anti-theists, Christopher Hitchens, or any of those weirdos.
And so what I told her was like, look, I've been to church with you. You used to take me to church all my life, and the church where she's settled into for decades now is like a mega church. It's like lived up. It's one of those ones that they do like a whole like a Christmas performance, and they get like people from like the Cincinnati LPO to come like play like in the orchestra pit, and they have like it's insane. But it's one of those mega churches. And I told her, I said, no disrespect to the people who go there with you or anybody, that's fine. But it's like, what I don't want to hear, what I have no time for, is a guy in polos and his like strategically torn jeans sitting there talking to me about whatever and passing the plate. I have no here for that. I said,
that's charlatans in religion. Just like
I'm not even saying he's a charlatan. I'm not even saying he's a charlatan. I'm not even going there. But I'm just saying, just outwardly, you sitting here, I'm not buying what you're selling, because I just don't see how it has much use for you. If you can understand that. Yeah, and I told her, I said, you know what I do respond to when I sit here on Instagram, or not Instagram, I'm sitting here on Telegram, and I see a man in Gaza whose whole family just got blown up by US made munitions by Israel, murdered by him in a genocide, whole family. And his first words are, Allah Akbar. I can't wait to see them. And I'm like, I want to know what I'll have what he's having.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the guy I want to talk to.
It's like, I wish that I could have
what's
that.
What's going on? Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, what's going on, bro? Because like you got real and not real. You got something. And I want to know more about it. And that's like my position on religion as a whole. I never go hard on anybody. And then my mom, and she says, no, I understand exactly what you're saying. She's like, you're making so much sense. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it. And I'm like, thank you, Mom. I get that. But I never go hard on a monk or a nun or a priest, anybody who's like I've given up this is my life.
Not on the religion.
Not
on the religion part, but if you disagree with them with something else, you argue them with them like they're anybody else. I mean, come on. Like that's
but I'm not going to hear it from a small business tyrant working on Sunday,
Oh yeah,
eating crawfish, and they're going to tell me that trans people can't pee in a certain bathroom. That gay people are wrong. I'm not trying to hear that from you.
Your blue button-down shirt with the white collar and the white cuffs is not gonna. You're like doing the opposite of convincing me over here.
You want to tell me what to do because you went to Promise Keepers 30 years ago. I don't want to hear that. You don't know what Promise Keepers was. It was like a rock concert. It was like one of those Jesus rock concerts, but for like middle-aged small business tyrants. It was stupid. It was a thing.
Here's a quote really quick. Religious suffering is at one and the same, an expression of real suffering and a protest against real suffering. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people. The abolition of religion as an illusory happiness of the people is the demand for their real happiness. To call on them to give up their illusions about their condition is to call on them to give up a condition that requires illusions. The criticism of religion is therefore in embryo the criticism of a veil that of tears, which religion is the halo. So basically, that's a Marx quote, right?
Much like the Second Amendment, we never talk about the second half.
Yeah,
we only talk about the first half.
The whole, yeah, exactly. The opiate of the masses, religion quote. It's presented as though Marx is looking down his nose at religion, and he's not. What he's doing is he's saying that these people in this world, and Marx wasn't a religious person. He grew up in Germany, but like the entire point of that is people have religion for a reason. It's because this world is too hopeless. You need to believe in another world.
Yeah,
like no, that's the very obvious thing. And trying to take that away from people, they will fight you to the death. If you challenge them on that, they will not go with you. They're gonna do what's righteous, no matter what.
I mean,
it doesn't matter what you believe.
That's kind of Marx's thing. Is like, Marx understood.
I'm getting hot. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Marx. We're almost out of time, but like Marx understood that a worker is a worker is a worker is a worker is a worker. And honestly, I'm not a fan. I'm not a tanky. I'm not a fan of the Soviet Empire, and they definitely were an empire. But I am a fan of their propaganda of just like workers of the world. Like whether they meant behind it or whether it was just rubbing salt in the wound as a propaganda tactic to spread the Soviet Union across the world.
Art's beautiful.
But they just understood, like, you're Asian, you're African, you're South American, you live in America, a worker is a worker is a worker is a worker. And if all the workers united, the Soviet Union will win. And they understood that.
Didn't work out.
So whatever you thought about them, you got to slice that bit off. I want more propaganda. I want public art that venerates. I was just at a party. I know we're almost out of time. I was at a Christmas party. It was a guy. He runs an HVAC crew, and I said, "God bless you." I said, "Support." I said, "Salute the troops." I said, "Bro, you're up in the attic, 120 degrees, trying to make decisions that's not going to make my house burn down. You're worth whatever you're charging."
Yeah. Yeah. And so as we wind down, we'll leave it at that. Robert, where can people find you?
TikTok, Good Morning Comrade. Facebook, Good Morning Comrade.
Yeah,
we're YouTube, both Good Morning Comrade. Twitch, TikTok. Good Morning Comrade. More TikTok than anything.
I haven't posted there yet, but I did at least like open up the Lemonade and I like converted the things over. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe that'll be necessary.
We'll talk
if
about
they come get TikTok. But
I hope they don't, because I'm my side hustle's kind of popping over here a little bit. I'm still in the red, but it's looking nice. Looking like I'm finna pull out of the red and start making a little money.
All right, cool. Well, and then goodmorningcomrade.com. Get all of our back episodes. Follow us all on the podcast and things like that. Follow me on Twitter at EminentProf. And we love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Pull up on